Sarbanes for 5 minutes.
Thanks very much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you all for being here. Our Republican colleagues keep suggesting that moving forcefully and deliberately towards a clean energy future is raising costs for consumers all over the place. But in fact, the failure to embrace that transition, that clean energy transition, can lead to higher energy prices. A PJM capacity auction in the Mid-Atlantic a few weeks ago demonstrated this. PJM's lack of transmission upgrade planning has forced the continued operation of a coal-fired power plant in Maryland that is going to mean higher prices for Maryland ratepayers. So the fact is that more clean energy production, better planning, integrating that new clean energy is the best path forward for the climate, frankly, for the energy industry, and certainly for consumers out there. Mr. Higgins, could you talk about the importance of the Biden administration's efforts to make it easier for sources of clean energy to connect to the grid, as well as accelerate build-out of transmission infrastructure? How will FERC's recent rules on interconnection and on regional transmission planning, order numbers 2023 and 1920, which you're very familiar with, help bring affordable clean energy to Maryland and across the country?
The grid is going through a remarkable transformation right now as the demand for electricity is growing due to things like data centers and all of the new battery manufacturing facilities that have been spurred by IRA. We're in the middle of a manufacturing renaissance. And the Inflation Reduction Act is solving for the economics of adding new clean electricity. And the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission is trying now to solve for the challenge of getting all those new resources connected to the grid at the times we need them, in the places we need them, including through transmission lines to connect between where the resources are strong and where the demand is needed. All of this is going to be really important to be able to meet that rising demand. But the retail implications are significant if we can't manage to do both. And that's why being able to match investments with standard setting and a firm regulatory commission is so important.
Appreciate that. Under the Biden-Harris administration's goal, 80% of the U.S. energy capacity will come from renewables by 2030. Also by 2030, American families are anticipated to save up to $38 billion on their electricity bills, thanks to the Inflation Reduction Act, which you just mentioned. So clean energy goes hand in hand with savings. Yet for some reason, our Republican colleagues are trying to sabotage this effort. Mr. Higgins, can you talk about how efforts to dismantle these tax credits and these clean energy technology incentives that were in the Inflation Reduction Act, and which lower bills and foster a low-carbon domestic power sector, threaten our ability to meet our clean energy goals? I mean, these things are really producing the change we want to see, moving us in a steady way towards that clean energy future. What do we risk and what will American families lose if attempts to roll back these incentives, these credits, and so forth are successful?
Under current policy, between the standards and the incentives and the new rules that we talked about just a minute ago from FERC, we're looking at increasing the amount of wind and solar additions to the grid from about 20 gigawatts per year, which was the average over the last 5 years, to 200 gigawatts a year in the 2030s. We're talking about a massive new construction effort with enormously beneficial impacts on the electricity grid because these sources are going to be so much cheaper. If we yank those tax credits away in the middle of that effort, or even worse, cut the manufacturing investments that are making it possible for that to be done here in America, we're going to leave ourselves exposed, less competitive in the global market, and we're going to see higher electricity rates as a result than we would otherwise.
It'd be crazy to do it because you have industries now all shifting and moving structurally in a major way in this new direction, and pull the rug out from under them would really work against our interests as a nation. So thank you very much. I yield back.
Chairman yields back. I now go to Dr. Joyce for 5 minutes.